This is the Global Podcast Network, where executives and professionals connect, share, and inspire. Stay tuned for the conversations that drive success.
And welcome back, everybody. If you have a narcissist in your life, or think you do, it's life-changing. And you may have been dealing with it for years. Maybe you're starting to realize it. Before we even dig in, I'm calling her our narcissist expert. She really has deep knowledge in this. She's written books about it and how people suffer at the hands of a narcissist in a relationship. Doesn't matter what kind of relationship, could be a personal one, could be a professional one. But with that, there's a lot of shame for both sides, the narcissist and the people around them. We're going to talk about that shame today with an amazing life coach at Soulfully Wild Healing. And she is Sherry Canino. She's back with us. How are you doing today?
I'm well, Steve. How are you doing?
Good. Yeah, I hope that's okay if I call you the narcissist expert.
It just makes me chuckle. I didn't think there's a lot of expertise that I would love to have. I wish it wasn't this.
Well, it is what it is. So you've taken a challenging situation in your life over a long period of time and turned it into a positive by spreading awareness and helping people move their lives forward when they're dealing with a narcissist or have been. When we talk about the shame thing, what are we referring to? Is it the shame of the narcissist, and or is it the shame that somebody experiences at the hands of a narcissist?
So I kind of want to dive into the shame that the narcissist feels, because that actually is the shame that they project onto us. So understanding it a lot of times for someone who's a survivor of narcissistic abuse can help them understand where the narcissist was coming from. And again, this is not to downplay what you've been through, what a survivor has been through, or to make anybody feel sorry for a narcissist. I mean, you can choose to feel however you like. All feelings are always acceptable and valid. I know for myself, just understanding where they're coming from helped me let go of a lot of the anger that I was holding on to, and understanding that had nothing to do with me.
Hmm.
So, you know, we talk a lot about the narcissist and how they project stuff. So when they're growing up, their parents are projecting their shame onto them. They're taking on a lot of the shame that their parents should be carrying, you know, and inevitably down the road, they feel the whole disorder is rooted in shame. So
Hmm.
understanding this is I feel like it's a little bit more helpful to all the survivors. When a narcissist acts, behaves, uses narcissistic behaviors, it all has to do with the shame that they're carrying. So they could be navigating life with you. Maybe it's a significant other, or it could be a parent. Let's say you're an adult of a parent who's a narcissist or a psychopath or any of the cluster Bs. You could say something to them. You could say, remember, I don't know, it could be a memory. And maybe the memory for that person wasn't a good, when I say it wasn't a good memory, they don't think like we do. So there could be shame attached to that memory. And now you're bringing something up and they're getting a narcissistic injury. And they're thinking, why is this person bringing this up? They're bringing it up to hurt me.
Wait, but
That is how they think.
we may not be bringing it up, probably not to hurt. It's just a memory. Hey, remember the time that blah, blah, blah. They see it through, I guess, the narcissistic lens. They see it
Yes.
differently. Is it essentially they're being defensive?
They're being defensive, but we have no idea why.
Mm.
So I definitely experienced this with the last guy that I was with. And I remember saying to him one time, do you sometimes just get defensive because something I say triggers something that somebody did to you in the past or something in a relationship from the past? And you're feeling shame about that? And he was like, yes. A lot of times, because remember, they're like adult children. So their emotional and mental state is of a child. So a lot of times they can't even identify their own emotions, why they're feeling the way that they're feeling, why something is triggering them. Think about a little kid who, you know, let's say they're 2 years old and they're, I don't know, it started raining out and they can't play outside because it's raining. Are they going to really be able to identify that they're upset because it's raining and they can't play outside? Or are they just going to throw a fit and we might
Mm.
not really know that they were about to head outside to go play? So, a lot of things that narcissists do are exactly the same. They don't know why they're upset. They might not even be able to identify that has nothing, but you're there. You're there, so you're the target. You're like the mother figure. So if somebody else triggers them, who do you think that they want to go to vent or abuse or take it out on? The mom, because when you're a little kid growing up, you learn no matter what you do, mommy's going to be there. That's our mentality. Mommy's
Is
never
is
going away.
is it often like a childlike relationship?
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It becomes very disappointing for most adults um, because they put on the facade that they're very like strong and can handle a lot of things. And then when you get into the relationship with them, you as the adult realize that's not really the case. But it's all rooted in this shame, and that's why they project the shame onto other people because they can't carry it. They can't handle it. And a lot of times they're carrying the shame. Something triggers them. They can't identify it, or even if they can, they're embarrassed, right? So think about when you were a little kid, like in school, right? And maybe like you did something and maybe you didn't realize you're little. Let's say elementary school. Doesn't have to be like kindergarten. It could be first, second, third grade. You did something. You shouldn't have done it, but you weren't doing it intentionally to do something wrong. But the teacher calls you out in class. Immediately, you're like, your whole face is becomes red. You're completely embarrassed. You're filled with shame because you're like being pointed out, like, look at what you did.
Mm.
And that's how they navigate life. They're in the day in and day out. That's how they live
It almost
as a
sounds
child.
like maybe for the first time that you're cutting the narcissist a little bit of slack because it may not be all their fault. I'm not putting words in your
So,
mouth or what. I'm just
you know,
saying, just wondering.
I guess for myself, because I've done a lot of healing, it isn't so much that I look back and think like, oh, that was okay that that person did these things to me. No, absolutely not. Like you don't get a pass. Like you should have known better. Cognitively, they do a lot of times, but there are also a lot of times where they actually cognitively don't because they're stuck in that child mentality and they will do things. They actually don't have an answer when you say, why did you do that?
Mm,
They don't know. So I guess there's a part of me that always has compassion for anybody who has a true mental illness because let's remember this is a mental disorder. So am I talking about people that just run around being jerks, so to speak, that take on one or two highly narcissistic traits and just want to be, maybe got a little chip on their shoulder from something and they just want to navigate life being rotten because they
mm.
think they can. Um, no, like we're not really talking, when we're talking about like nobody wakes up in the morning and says, "Oh, well, maybe some people do, but most people don't wake up in the morning, little kids don't wake up and say, "Hey, I hope I grow up to be a narcissist or I hope I grow up to be somewhere with a mental illness where I'm in the cluster B." Um, it's a very sad, lonely disorder because they're living in their own world in their minds. Nobody really understands them. They don't. And that's where us as survivors, we don't get it. We don't get it most of the time. We don't understand that how they think. I mean, can you
Mm.
really even grasp not having empathy for somebody? Like
No.
somebody's walking along, trips and falls. Your first instinct is to be like, "Hey, are you okay?" Could you imagine just like tunnel vision and just keep walking along? Because that's what a child would do. That's what a little kid would do. They don't know that they're supposed to say, "Hey, are you okay?" So, as an adult, could you imagine navigating life like that? You're going to be like the outcast. Of course, you're going to manipulate and try to cognitively be like everybody else. Why wouldn't you? Why would you want to be that outcast that everybody's looking at like, oh my God, you're a total horrible person? They already feel horrible about themselves.
Now, where does that shame come from? You said typically it can come from their parents.
Yeah, typically, when okay, so when a child psychologically, when a child is developing, they need to have that secure base, and
A hundred
that's the
percent.
mom.
And that is that's a big thing for what they call childhood traumas, where you have challenges later in life because you didn't get the attention you needed. Not every child needs the same amount of attention, but if you didn't feel the attachment to your parents, especially your mom, you're going to have challenges later in life.
If you
Or,
can't securely attach, you can't securely detach and individuate.
mm,
And so, even so, 0 to 3 years old, what people don't understand is that age, at that young, a child that's neglected, left to cry it out, left to hold, eat on its own, prop up the baby bottle. Mommy's too busy.
yeah,
All those things makes the child feel shame. What's wrong with me? Why doesn't mommy love me? Of course, a baby is not developed enough to understand and it can't talk, but it does what it knows to do, which is cry when it needs something, when those needs are not being met and it's left on its own. It's going to develop something to get its needs met. It has to. If you don't feed a baby, it will die. You can't just leave a baby on the ground as a newborn, 2 months old, 3 months. Where's it going? Can't move. You're gonna leave it just laying there.
Do you think that
So
in this narcissistic world that they say the growth stunts their growth? Do you think that
yes,
they're stuck in many regards stuck in their childhood, even as an adult?
yes, yep. hmm
Hmm.
And that is even why Professor Sam Vaknin would say that, like, if you're going to treat a narcissist, work with a narcissist like therapists are, they need to use child psychology with them.
Wow, never heard
Yeah.
that.
They're not where we are. They can't, how could they comprehend they struggle just to identify their own feelings and emotions. And many times a lot of us do, and we're adults. Right? So sometimes we might mistake, anxiety for fear or, you know, so they're adults running around in a s- survival, using narcissism still as a survival mechanism. They don't know anything else. If they don't get the right help, the right treatment to manage their behaviors and to understand what they're doing and why they're doing it, they're still running around only in an adult body trying to get their needs met. And because as a baby, they
Hmm.
had to adapt. So it's an adaptation to their environment. That's what they know.
Now,
So,
why wouldn't they always be looking for what was missing, or are they? Because there's many, many scenarios, and if we start thinking about them, I can certainly bring up a bunch of relationships I've been connected to or others where people will seek out what was missing. Quick example. You hear, mommy issues, daddy issues. You hear those terms. I think it's real. Now, like, let's
mhm,
say you're a woman, just picking anything here, hypothetical. You're a woman and your father left the family abruptly, and you don't even know why. Now you're a kid when this happened. Now later in life, what's going on? You keep bouncing between men relationships because you're looking for what's missing, that dad connection. You may cheat on your partner because you're looking for somebody, and eventually maybe you find somebody that sort of fills the void, and then, or you're into relationship after relationship that just it's bad for you, but you don't care and you don't know. Because it's making you feel like you have a connection to your father that wasn't there. Is that really why are the narcissists not doing that? I've never heard you say that.
they are actually doing that. They're constantly so, and it doesn't matter if it's a male or a female,
Of
right? So
course.
it can still be a female getting in a relationship with a guy. So that a female narcissist, she's still looking for that good enough mother, even if it's a guy. So they're looking for the mother figure
Hmm.
so that they can they can go through their cycle. They're trying to individuate. So what they never did as a child, being able to have this secure base, this the good enough what Professor Sam Vaknin calls a good enough mother, meaning makes them feel emotionally, mentally secure
Hmm.
enough to individuate. So if you think about ourselves as children, as we grow, 2 year olds is really where it starts. That's why it's called the terrible twos.
Mm.
That's when the child starts to understand and realize that he or she is no longer actually part of the mom. And so when the mom does or says things that frustrate the 2 year old, he throws a fit. So that's where the mom, as the secure base, would be there for the child. Go ahead, separate from me, start exploring, meet other kids in a friend group, whatever, different things with other siblings, family members, whatever. But I'm still here. I'm not going anywhere. You can feel secure to explore the world as much as you'll let a 2 year old, you know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
But you
Here's the
let
keys to the
them
car.
just, yeah, exactly. You let them to start to have thoughts and opinions of their own. They
So
get to choose sometimes.
where do you go with that? Like if this resonates for somebody, they're realizing, oh, I'm living with or connected to a narcissist. Uh, the pieces go together, maybe from their childhood, maybe one parent did leave. I don't know, whatever. Um, where do you go with that? Certainly reach out. This is what you do in coaching people back to life. I've never said that before, but that's really what it is.
Back to their new life.
Yeah. Well, the life that they deserve. Um, yeah, short of making that phone call or clicking that button online, is there anything else that anybody can do when they have that realization of what's actually going on here?
You want to get a support group or at least a friend or two that you can actually go to when you're ready to like walk away or to get clarification like what am I really dealing with here? And it isn't about them being diagnosed. It's really about if it doesn't feel good to you, why are you still doing it?
Big final question. Based on your experience and the experience of others, you realize you're in a narcissistic relationship. It's toxic. It's abusive. Scale of 1 to 10, 10 being stay in it. It'll all work itself out. You'll maybe through therapy, whatever it may be. I know that that's not possible at the 10. Where would you put that number?
A one or a two, because the narcissist has to be willing to do the work, that he or she needs to do.
Yeah.
So I always say, and it doesn't matter, the person doesn't even have to be a narcissist. It could just be a toxic relationship. If the other person, you can't change, the only person
Yeah.
you can change is yourself.
Right.
So don't hold out to heal somebody else. Work on your own self
What you can do.
because
And
it's
like,
very
go
it's
ahead.
very narcissist sorry it's very narcissistic for us to stay in a relationship thinking we need to heal this other person.
Well, that there comes the realization that you can only control what you can control. And once you
Exactly.
realize that, and then the other part of it is if the other person doesn't realize that they have something, nothing's going to change and most don't. And I don't know that I've been involved in narcissistic relationships. You make me think I got to go deep on that one. Um, but I can certainly say the other person didn't realize we all got stuff going on, but didn't realize or accept why they do what they do or did. And, awareness is everything. Soulfullywild.com is your website, right?
Yes.
Yeah. You got a couple of great books out there about what we're talking about. And you're there to help people find themselves once again. Just reach out. Sherry, thanks for being here today. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, Steve. You have a great day.
You too. We'll be right back.
This is the Global Podcast Network, where executives and professionals connect, share, and inspire. Stay tuned for the conversations that drive success.